So reaction is eager boss was stuck in elevator but like really? Wow. Oh my god. In a elevator. Wow. So the link to the video will be the description on top, no, below. Go and check them out. So looking to this vaccine in 3, 2, 1.
The hospital had seen all kinds of emergencies, heart
Yeah,
attacks,
yeah,
accidents, even rare infections.
yeah,
But nothing prepared the staff for the call they received one night. An elevator had stalled between two floors, trapping a man inside. At first, it sounded routine. But
yeah.
then came the screams, deep, desperate, agonizing. Nurses and
Really?
doctors rushed to the control room, listening through the intercom as his cries grew sharper, more urgent. What was happening inside that elevator would soon become one of the strangest cases in medical history.
Really?
His name was Daniel Brooks, 34 years
Ten
old,
books.
an ordinary professional who lived a quiet life in Chicago. To the outside
Chicago.
world, Daniel looked like any other hardworking man, slightly reserved, always polite, someone who never caused trouble. He didn't have a reputation for health issues. Aside from the occasional fatigue and stomach pain he brushed off as stress.
Yeah.
But in recent weeks, Daniel had felt changes in his body that he couldn't quite explain.
Really?
Nausea in the mornings, strange cramps, and a weight gain that didn't match his lifestyle.
Wow,
He
really?
ignored it, convincing himself
Yeah.
it was nothing serious. That night, however, when he walked into the hospital clutching his stomach, drenched in sweat, it was clear this was no ordinary stomach ache.
Yeah.
And as fate would have it, the elevator doors closed behind him and locked him into a nightmare no one could have predicted. For
Really?
months, Daniel ignored small changes in his body. A bit of nausea in the mornings, unusual fatigue, even weight gain.
Yep, it. Yep. One thing is, weekend. Yep, it.
He blamed stress, his long working hours,
No,
and junk
it's
food habits. But
you
then came the
opinion.
sharp abdominal pains. He described it to his doctor once, but the physician suspected irritable bowel syndrome and advised him to adjust his diet.
Really?
Daniel himself laughed it off. After all, the idea of being pregnant never even crossed his mind.
Your
He hadn't been
opinion.
in a serious relationship recently, or so he thought. But the body doesn't lie. And when the
Yep.
pain grew unbearable,
Two.
Daniel found himself one night rushing to the hospital. It was late evening when Daniel entered the hospital, clutching his stomach, sweating profusely. Nurses directed him to the
Whoa.
third floor for urgent care. He stepped into the elevator, pressed the button, and as the doors slid shut,
Yep.
everything went wrong. The
Really?
elevator jolted, the lights flickered, and with a shuddering sound, it came to a dead stop between the second and
Oh.
third floors.
Oh. Oh. Oh.
Daniel was trapped. At
Yeah.
first, he
Literally.
thought he could wait. But then, the pain hit harder,
Oh. Oh.
waves of contractions that made him double over, screaming. He pressed the emergency button repeatedly. His voice echoed through the intercom. Something's wrong. Please help me. The hospital staff rushed to the elevator control room, but all they could do was talk to him through the intercom. They didn't know yet what was really happening. Sir, can you tell me what you're feeling? A nurse asked through the speaker. Daniel's reply was frantic. It feels like something inside me is tearing apart. The staff initially suspected appendicitis, maybe a ruptured cyst or internal bleeding. But when his screams grew rhythmic, timed almost perfectly apart, doctors began to suspect something else. Daniel, one doctor asked carefully, is there any chance you could be pregnant? Silence. Daniel shook his head furiously. No, that's impossible, he shouted. I'm a man. But the contractions told a different story.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, hospital technicians worked desperately to restart the elevator. Inside, Daniel was drenched in sweat, clawing at the metal walls. Each wave of pain was sharper than the last. His body was preparing for something he never believed could happen. Finally,
Literally.
through the tiny gap in the doors, a doctor managed to shine a flashlight inside. What they saw removed all doubt. Daniel's body wasn't failing, it was delivering. He was in labor. As
Yeah.
minutes turned
It
into
is
an
a level.
hour,
Yeah.
Daniel's situation worsened. The contractions grew stronger, his breathing shallow. He was terrified, and the reality hit him in waves. He was about to give birth. Here, alone, trapped. Doctors on the outside gave him instructions through the intercom. Daniel, listen to me. You need to stay calm. Focus on your breathing. Help is on the way. But Daniel was breaking down. I can't do this. I can't. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Maintenance managed to pry open the doors just enough for two nurses and an emergency doctor to slip inside. The cramped space turned into an improvised delivery room. The elevator smelled of sweat and panic. Daniel clutched the cold floor, his face pale, his body trembling. The doctor
Yeah.
knelt beside him, guiding him through the process. Push when I say. You're stronger than
Yeah,
you
you can do
think.
it. You can do it.
Daniel screamed, every sound echoing off the
You can do it. You can do it.
steel walls. He cried, not only from the pain but from the disbelief. His entire identity was colliding with this impossible reality. Minutes felt like hours.
Oh,
Then, finally, the moment came. With one last push, a baby's cry pierced through the suffocating tension of the elevator.
oh,
A boy, healthy, alive. The staff wrapped the newborn in a hospital coat, and for a moment, time stood still. Daniel stared at the tiny face in shock and awe.
oh.
When the elevator doors were finally forced open, doctors rushed Daniel and his newborn to the maternity ward. News spread across the hospital like wildfire. A man just
Really?
gave birth in the elevator.
Yeah.
When the
Literally.
doctors finally stabilized Daniel and the baby, one burning question remained. How could a man give birth? The hospital staff whispered among themselves, stunned, until Daniel, pale and exhausted, explained the truth. Daniel was transgender. Born biologically female, he had lived as a man for more than a decade. Testosterone therapy had shaped his body and voice, but it hadn't erased the fact that he still had functioning female reproductive organs. He had always assumed the hormone treatments made pregnancy impossible, but biology had surprised him in the most shocking way.
Whoop.
Months earlier, during a brief moment of intimacy with a close friend, one of his eggs was fertilized. He didn't realize it at the
Really?
time, dismissing the early symptoms as stress or illness.
Yeah.
Against all odds, his body had carried life silently, until that night in the elevator when the secret could no longer be hidden. For
Whoop.
days, Daniel remained in recovery, torn between disbelief
Oh.
and an overwhelming flood of emotions.
Yeah.
He had never imagined parenthood, yet here was undeniable proof in his arms.
Yeah.
The doctors explained it gently. Testosterone therapy had lowered his chances, but not eliminated them. His reproductive
Yeah.
system, still intact, had done what nature designed it to do. Daniel struggled with questions that went beyond medicine. How could he, a man who built his entire life on his identity, suddenly be a mother? Or was he a
Yeah.
father? Could he accept this new chapter without losing himself? In
Yeah.
interviews
Yeah. You
later,
can. Yeah.
he admitted the emotional battle was harder than the physical one. That elevator trapped me, he said, but it also forced me to face a truth I had been running from. My body still had
Literally.
the power to create life.
Yeah.
Daniel's story became more than just a hospital legend. It was a reminder of the complexity of the human body, the unpredictability of biology, and the
Yeah.
thin line between science and miracle. For doctors, it reinforced a critical lesson. Never rule out possibilities, no matter
Whoop.
how unlikely they seem.
Yeah.
For viewers, it carried a deeper message. Our bodies can surprise us in ways we can never fully control.
Literally.
And
Yeah.
as for Daniel, he chose to raise his son, embracing the title of
Oh.
Dad proudly. But he never forgot the night that his life, and the life of his child, began in the unlikeliest of places, a broken hospital elevator. If you were one of the doctors that night, standing outside that elevator and hearing a man scream through the intercom, would you have guessed what was really happening inside?
Yes. Wow. That was eager boss was second elevator but that got toss. The link to the video will be in the description below. Go and check them out. So drop a like if you like and comment below if you want to see more reaction like this one. And subscribe if you're new include the post so you can be notified when we upload and collab. And if you're watching on Twitter, the link to the video will be in the description on top. And follow me include the post so you can be notified when the post in the month. Bye. Wow.